Hello and welcome, my dear friends. Today we will talk about the common naming of dihalides, whether they are geminals or vicinals, and dihydroxy compounds. So first of all, let's talk of dihalides. As far as geminals are concerned, or we can say geminal dihalides, when two same halogen atoms are attached to same carbon atom, the compound is called as geminal dihalide. Geminal dihalide, or we can say gem dihalide, or simply geminals. Now, how they are named? They are commonly named as, alkylidine halide. They are commonly named as alkylidine halide. Alkylidine halide is the common name of these compounds. Alkylidine halide. For example, अगर आपके पास CH2 single bond Cl है, so we have two same halogen atoms on the same carbon atom, we call this a geminal dihalide. Now the point is how they are named. Since there are two carbon atoms in it, so we have ethylidine, then there is halide, means chloride. If you can see here, it's alkylidine halide, and mind it, it's not alkylidine dihalide, it is simply alkylidine halide. So we have here two carbon atoms, so it's ethylidine chloride. Similarly, if I just talk of one more example, CH3 single bond CH, 2 single bond CH, Cl. So we have three carbon atoms over here, so the compound is named as propylidine chloride. So it's propylidine chloride. So this is how we are basically naming these geminal dihalides. Now, but there is one exception. We can write one more example over here. For instance, आपके पास है CH3 single bond C, then there is CH single bond Cl and Cl. So this is again a geminal dihalide, but the problem with this is there is having a kind of group over here. This group is iso, so we have four carbon atoms, 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have here isobutylidine chloride. So isobutylidine chloride is the example of this particular compound. So in general, I can say you that the geminal dihalides are commonly named as alkylidine halide. Now talking about vicinals, talking about weak dihalides. So vicinals basically क्या होते हैं? Vicinal dihalides, they are when two halogen atoms, two same halogen atoms are on two adjacent carbon atoms. When two same halogen atoms are on two adjacent carbon atoms, so the compounds are called as weak dihalides or vicinal dihalide, or you can simply say as weak dihalide. How are they commonly named as? So they are commonly named as, one thing I missed to tell you is, in case of alkylidine halides or geminal dihalides, there is one exception. So there is one exception over here. I should write it here. There is one exception, and that is अगर आपके पास ये वाला geminal होगा, मतलब ये वाला एक ही कार्बन पे दो हेलोजन जो जेमिनल है ही, लेकिन there is only one carbon over here, so we call it as methylene chloride instead of methylidine. So this is called as methylene chloride. This is called as methylene chloride, and you cannot say it as methylidine chloride. So methylidine chloride is incorrect, but this is a correct option for this. So exception यही है कि अगर एक ही कार्बन होगा उस पे दो हेलोजन होंगे, so you are not basically naming it as methylidine chloride, instead you name it as methylene chloride. So this is exception in case of geminals, that is for one carbon atom only. Now these vicinals are commonly named as alkylene halide. So in case of geminals, it was alkylidine, but in case of vicinals, it is alkylene halide. For example लेंगे हम यहाँ. So we have for example CH2 single bond Cl and Cl. So we have two same halogen atoms on two adjacent carbon atoms. There are two carbon atoms over here, so the name is eth. So it's ethylene chloride. So ethylene chloride is the name of this compound. Next, one more example I should be taking here. For example, हमारे पास है CH3 single bond CHCl, CH2Cl. So three carbons are there, so we have the name propylene, then chloride. Propylene chloride. Another example, so we have CH3 single bond CH3, H single bond CH2, single bond CH, single bond CH2, Cl and Cl. It's a vicinal dihalide, but the point is there is a group that is this group. We call it iso. So we have actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 carbon atoms. So we have isohexylene chloride. Isohexylene chloride is the name of this compound. I hope you understand it. So in case of geminals, we have the name alkylidine, but in case of vicinals, we have the name alkylene. But in case of geminals, there is one exception for one carbon atom that's called as methylene chloride instead of methylidine chloride. ये चीजें आपको ध्यान में रखनी है. Now we have one more category, that is if when two same halogens are at two ends of carbon chain, we name them as polymethylene halide. So instead of adjacent, we have at the two ends of carbon chain, two ends. So same halogens at two ends of carbon chain, we name them as polymethylene halide. And poly here stands for, give us the number of CH2 groups. If we have one CH2 group or two CH2 groups, we call it di. And this name is applicable for carbons greater than 3 or 2. We can say 2. When the carbons are greater than 2, then you can apply this polymethylene halide. For example, हमारे पास एक example है CH2 single bond CH single bond CH2 Cl and Cl. So we have carbons greater than 2. So we have the name polymethylene halide. So कैसे नाम देंगे आप? How many methylene groups are there? 1, 2 and 3. So CH2 group यहाँ पे 3 है. So the name is trimethylene chloride. Trimethylene chloride, because I told you the name is polymethylene halide. So halide के बदले chloride आ गया. Methylene is there, लेकिन methylene groups कितने हैं? Poly means number of CH2 groups कितने हैं? वहाँ पे 3 थे, तो trimethylene chloride name is there. So carbons must be greater than 2. If the carbons are 2, so for this particular case, अगर हम लिखेंगे यहाँ if the carbons are just 2, that is CH2 single bond CH2 Cl, so ये विसिनल ही बनेगा, तो इसका नाम ही वही आएगा, that is ethylene chloride instead of dimethylene chloride. So this is not applicable here because यहाँ पे मैंने बोल दिया आपको carbons must be greater than 2, तब आपका ये polymethylene halide वाला concept आएगा. So one more example I should be taking here, that is CH single bond CH Cl, CH2 CH2 CH2, then CH2, then Cl. So the two halogens which are same are attached to two ends of carbon chain, so we name them as polymethylene. Now the point is, how many methylene groups are there? They are 1 2 3 4 5, so it's pentamethylene chloride. Pentamethylene chloride. So this is how you are naming geminals, vicinals, and these two halogens at the two extremes of carbon chain. We call them as polymethylene halides. So here it's named as pentamethylene chloride. I hope you understand it. Now, in the same way, we are naming basically dihydroxy compounds. So in case of dihydroxy compounds, basically those compounds when two OH groups are there in molecule, we call them dihydroxy compounds. Now the point is, two OH groups cannot be on same carbon. Two or more, we can say more also. So two OH groups cannot be on same carbon because of being unstable, and it dehydrates to carbonyls. मतलब it can dehydrate to aldehydes or ketones. So दो हाइड्रोक्सी ग्रुप्स जो है ये एक ही कार्बन पे नहीं हो सकते हैं. क्यों नहीं हो सकते? बिकॉज दैट मेक्स द सिस्टम अनस्टेबल. उसका डिहाइड्रेशन होता है और वो फिर कार्बोनिल बनता है. कैसे? अगर आपके पास ये कंपाउंड है CH2 सिंगल बॉन्ड CH सिंगल बॉन्ड OH सिंगल बॉन्ड OH, तो जैसे जेमिनल्स में था वो तो स्टेबल कंपाउंड्स थे, लेकिन two OH groups on same carbon are not stable compounds, they are unstable compounds and they dehydrate. ये लूज करेंगे वाटर मॉलिक्यूल. कैसे? ये H और इसका एक H हो गया वाटर मॉलिक्यूल. सो इट फॉर्म्स CH, यहाँ पे 3 है, इट इज CH3 सिंगल बॉन्ड C. ये O रह गया यहाँ, सो इट इज डबल बॉन्ड O एंड देयर इज वन H ओवर हियर, दैट इज दिस H. इट्स कॉल्ड एज अल्डिहाइड. अगर आप ये वाला कंपाउंड लेंगे CH3 सिंगल बॉन्ड C OH देन CH3, तो उसके बाद में जो है एक ही कार्बन पे दो हाइड्रोक्साइड्स ग्रुप्स है, तो इट कैन अगेन रिलीज वाटर मॉलिक्यूल. ये तो OH होगा, ये तो H होगा यहाँ से, सो माइनस H2O, तो इट फॉर्म्स CH3 सिंगल बॉन्ड C CH3. यहाँ पे खाली O बच गया, तो ये डबल बॉन्ड बनाएगा विद दिस O. इट्स अ कार्बोनिल कंपाउंड दैट टू इज अ कीटोन. So this is a ketone. So I told you two or more hydroxides on same carbon cannot exist because the molecule is unstable and it dehydrates to form carbonyl compounds which can be aldehydes or ketones. This is in contrast to geminals. Geminals are stable compounds. Now, two hydroxides can be on two adjacent carbon atoms. So two OH groups on two adjacent carbon atoms. The compounds are called as glycols. For example, CH2 single bond CH2, OH and OH, they are stable compounds and they are called as glycol. Now how these are named as? They are named as commonly named as alkylene glycol. They are named as alkylene glycol. For example, हमारे पास एक कंपाउंड है CH2 सिंगल बॉन्ड CH2 OH OH So there are two carbon atoms, so it's ethylene. Then there is the word glycol. I told you alkylene glycol. Alk stands for number of carbon atoms, so since there are two carbons only, so it's ethylene glycol. Next example, that is CH3 single bond CH single bond OH. So two OHs on the adjacent carbon atoms is a glycol. So it's how many carbon atoms are there in total? 3. So it's propylene glycol. One more example we are here taking, that is CH3 single bond C, CH3 single bond CH OH single bond CH2 OH. अब देखिए, this is a glycol because two OH groups on same carbon atom, on two adjacent carbon atoms, so it's a glycol. Now what is the name? This is the portion which is basically iso, so the name will be, how many carbons in total? 1 2 3 4 5, so it's isopentylene glycol. So this is how you are basically naming these dihydroxy compounds in which we have two OH groups on that two adjacent carbon atoms. Two OH groups or more cannot be on the same carbon atoms, I told you, because that makes the system unstable, which dehydrates to form carbonyl compounds. Now when two OH groups are on, or we can say are at two ends of carbon chain, जैसे उसमें था इसी तरीके से इसमें भी है, that's called as polymethylene. उसमें हम लिखते थे नाम polymethylene halide, यहाँ पे लिखेंगे नाम polymethylene glycol. Polymethylene glycol, for example. And poly again here stands for number of CH2 groups. For example, आपके पास है, and this is again applicable when the number of carbon atoms is greater than 2. This is again applicable when the number of carbon atoms is greater than 2, जैसे मैंने polymethylene halides में बोला था. So it is here CH2OH single bond CH2 single bond CH2 single bond OH. So number of carbons is greater than 2. It's 3 over here. So the name will be polymethylene glycol. Now how many methyl CH2 groups are there? 3. So it is trimethylene glycol. Similarly, we have one more example, that is CH2OH CH2 CH2 CH2OH. So it's tetramethylene glycol, because there are 4 CH2 groups, so tetramethylene glycol. This is how you are basically naming these compounds. So this was all about that how you name geminal dihalides, vicinal dihalides, polymethylene halides, and dihydroxy compounds, as far as when the two hydroxides on the same carbon, they are not existent. When the two carbons are two adjacent, when the two OH groups are two adjacent carbon atoms, so it leads to glycols, and they are named as alkylene glycol. As far as polymethylene glycols are concerned, in which we have two OH groups on the two ends of carbon chain, so they are named as polymethylene glycols. This was all about the common naming of these dihalides and dihydroxy compounds. I hope you understand it. You can watch this video many a times, move it forward, backward, pause it, and make notes, please. And if you have not subscribed it yet, please do subscribe my channel, share it, like, comment, and give me suggestions for improvement. Till then, take good care of yourselves. Thank you very much.